There you go.
What's up, bro?
Not, not in much, brother. How are you?
I'm going well. I'm doing well. Doing a little well here. Okay.
Well, I'd like to
Just
say aloha to everyone. Today is November 2nd. It's Monday. Tomorrow will be election day. So I'm not sure if we're going to have anything tomorrow, brother. I think election day going to,
yeah, probably just hang out and watch the maybe have a little post election real quick. Jump on later on.
okay.
But I think we'll just hang out and see
Yeah.
what happens, man. Gonna be a pretty interesting day. I think that the news starts at like 2 o'clock. They'll start the coverage because, of course, by 2 o'clock,
The mainland.
which
You,
is 7 o'clock Eastern time now, we're still on daylight savings. Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, might be pretty interesting. Might be pretty interesting. We'll see. Well, it'll be interesting. One way or the other, gonna be interesting. I
Yeah.
saw a lot of the businesses on the mainland are boarding up all their shops in anticipation of the riots. I mean, that's so shame that we live in America and we gotta worry about that. But
One thing I would like to say is, and if I can ask our viewers to please, if you folks hear anything about any kind of rioting that going to take place on Kauai or your neighboring island, please, you can message me. Um, Several of the large name stores uh, hired hired my people to stand post for to make sure nothing happens. So I have some large individuals in unmarked vehicles that's gonna protect life and property, whatever it is. I mean, I don't anticipate anything happening, but I just want to let you know they're out there. So please, we don't want no problems. That is not our intent. Our intent is to make sure that the client stays safe and that everybody stays safe. That's the bottom line. Yeah.
everybody stay home.
Yeah.
We just had a Halloween weekend. I heard all the horror stories today, all the gatherings here on Kauai. I'm talking about Kauai. I'm hearing about gatherings, full on tents, big parties, no masks, no social distancing. And we just saw. I just said post Kapolei, the school. Four of the employees tested positive. We got to understand. And by the way, tonight we have George Ma, and he's in the waiting room. We'll bring him in right away. But we got to understand that because of the additional people coming to our island or to all of our islands in the state, we are going to get increased numbers of virus. I mean, you cannot get away from that. So, well, we may have been enjoying, especially here on Kauai, we may have been enjoying this relatively virus-free environment for a long time. Yeah, go ahead and share this, especially to those that think this is the flu. But while we've enjoyed that long time, no more cases, so we was kind of complacent, going out, hanging out with friends and family, close friends. Now it's a different story, and we talked about this months ago that when we open up, we're gonna start seeing the numbers increase. While Honolulu is they're all only interested in going to tier three. No, we need to make sure that we don't contract the virus. So, the big gatherings, why you guys do that? To those of you that feel that it's still safe to do so, well, we'll start seeing the numbers pop up here and there. And it's I know what the governor is going to say. It's because of the Halloween parties. Well, the virus still had to get here somehow. My point is that the virus is here. There's two people in the hospital right now, two beds being used for COVID patients here on Kauai, and the number is going to rise. So we gotta be extremely, extremely careful. All right. And again, we're gonna share this now. All of those people that that keep laughing at you because you're taking this too serious or you're exaggerating. Yeah, shoot them a quick text and tell them jump on the show now. Come watch tonight and see how they feel after one of our local brothers from Oahu, George Ma.
Wait, hold on. I do wanna. Many of you know. He's like my daughter, Melissa Bolton. Got sad news. Her brother-in-law, who's a very well-known backup singer, Chris Bolton, and he sang with the likes of Chaka Khan and he's a gospel singer as well. Very, very well known. You can find him on YouTube. Great backup singer. It's been a little over, going on 2 weeks. He was admitted into a mainland hospital for COVID, and he lost his battle today to COVID. And he's only 49 years of age.
Well, prayers, condolences go out to the family, to Melissa, who's a very good friend of ours. Never met her yet, but gosh, Melissa, we're praying for you and your entire Ohana.
Yeah,
God. Well, that's how this thing works, man. I mean, I tell you, if people cannot take this serious, then they got some issues.
yeah. There
And
he is.
there he is. Oh, I know a lot of you guys gonna recognize George Ma.
Yep.
Let me get everything set for me.
Perfect.
Okay, am I on?
Yeah,
Yes,
you're
you
on, buddy. You're
I
on.
had you guys. I had you guys hooked up to my workout speaker outside, so he was getting blasted in the living room.
Yeah, I heard. I kind of heard you faintly. I figured, oh, but no, we can hear you loud and clear. Your video is awesome. I'm Mel. That's Charlie.
You know.
Thank you so much, George, for joining us tonight. I just read on a post that you were posting or you were talking with Sarah that this may be your last COVID interview.
Yes. So I remember you guys reaching out to me like in August, in the beginning of August, and at that time I contracted the virus in July 4th weekend. So I was still recovering and I was kind of learning how my body was reacting. And it just you guys contacted me at the wrong time. And I was just always fatigued. The first few months out of hospital, you just don't want to do anything. Your mind's not right. So whatever time that I had, sometimes it would be in the middle of the night, whatever, I would start posting stuff, you know what I mean? So it's really sporadic. But then I wanted first to thank you guys for having me on you guys' show. And I remember when Charlie reached out to me, he told me his story. Yeah, and first, I want to um, give my condolences to your family, right?
Thank
And I wanted to fulfill this promise to you guys. So you guys were probably one of my first to ask me for this interview, and maybe I'll end it with you guys. And the only reason is because now I think you guys are doing a great job. There's a bunch of people out there, that are sharing their stories, and you guys are spreading awareness in the community. And I'm passing the torch over to you guys. And I want to work on my recovery, and going work and dealing with recovery. It's a whole different ball game right now that I'm learning, that I'm trying to maneuver through.
Well, George, first of all, we appreciate you coming on, obviously. We followed, I think a lot of us here in Hawaii followed your story um, from July, the Facebook Lives. I think it was even daily. It was daily, and then the news started covering your story. So you became the first, as far as I'm concerned, the first face to this virus. Although others may have been struggling with it, but you were the one you were the face. I mean, the newspaper. You were in the newspapers. You were everywhere, and we have been battling with getting information out. We have been, it started kind of with Charlie's brother. But there's been many more. We just heard tonight one of our loyal, Charlie just gave us a bad news. One of our loyal viewers here on the show, the brother passed away today. Um, and Melissa Bolton. And so our prayers go out to that family as well. But COVID is a nasty virus, and there may be people on the show right now that are not familiar and may not have been paying attention back in July, um, because everyone had lives to live. But maybe you can start, George, by a real quick introduction. Your story caught me because I have a 20. He just made 29-year-old, my son Baron. He's a personal trainer. He's a healthy guy. He lives in Beaverton, Oregon. And so when your story came up, remember in the beginning, we all thought you had to be old and sick and all of these requirements before COVID could affect you. But your story was, no, man, you're young, healthy, and a local boy that got our attention. So maybe you can start, and if I know that you're still recovering, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what we'll talk about tonight. So if you feel like you got to take a break, hey, by all means, man, just raise the hand. And
Cool. Cool. I
but maybe
appreciate that.
start by introducing yourself. Where were you born? Where your life prior to COVID, and then how did this thing start, man?
So I think this was it last week. My COVID fog. So sometimes I might be a little slower, not as sharp as usual. Especially now usually I usually sleep at around 9 o'clock. So, but then my name is George Ma. I'm 47. I own my own business. I've been a personal trainer for 20 years. Uh, work under lifestyle fitness training. That's my business. And I was always healthy. I never got sick for like 20 years. I don't even have a primary care doctor. I have no underlying problems. Just a typical local boy, born and raised here, in the Kalihi area, you know. And then I think at that time when I first posted, I think the numbers there were like only 50 50,000 cases in the US, and now I think you guys would know better, like 9 million cases,
Yep.
right? At that time. So it was still early in the stage when I went in. And what happened was as you can tell, if people are following me, I love to post, informational stuff, about health or just my life. I'm super open to anything you ask me. So I posted my video from the beginning, from actually getting X-ray, my chest X-ray, getting diagnosed positive, and in my hospital bed. And at that time, I had about 400 friends on my Facebook community. And after that one post, just warning my friends, because I wanted to be that face, because among our group of friends at that time, we were like, what's the statistics? We don't know anybody. And it's only seniors, that's getting it, so we're good. And then when I got it, it was the most horrible thing that ever happened. And it's still happening to me, at this moment. And then I woke up with maybe almost 90,000 or 100,000 views after. And at that time, it was so early. I knew that I had information that people needed to know, and that I wanted to share with people at that time. Because I remember going into the ER, and then while I was working with doctors, I stayed in a hospital for 12 days battling COVID. And even the doctors would come in, and the nurses would ask me, how I felt and what was going on. So, and I would share with them about my experience. And that's how new it was at that time. And people were listening. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to share my experience. If you listen or not, you can get it. So first off, I wanted to thank like all the people that supported me. I got all this support. And to be honest, it did help me recover, because battling COVID, I was by myself, just me and my medical staff. And it's tough, and it gets lonely, and it's super scary, going through that daily, and all I had was my phone. And thank God, I would get all these messages of encouragement and strength to kind of carry me on. And every day, I was like, I'm not gonna let these people down, my friends, my family, and all these people that's sending me this love, and the power of prayer and the power, of social media. It's I learned that it's amazing. It's amazing strength, you know. So I'm so glad you guys are doing what you guys are doing, and I know it's draining. You know,
George,
I
let
think
me
yes. Go ahead, Charlie.
let me ask you something. Because I can hear it, and same when we talked to Sarah.
Mhm.
uh, has COVID taken a toll on your lungs? Because I can hear, you know, your it sounds like you get winded, and again, we want to make sure we don't overtax you during this interview because I know how it can get, and
Yeah.
that seems to be the number one. Because like when people say they compare it to the flu, really the flu you don't get winded. If you're gonna get anything, you'll get pneumonia, and
Mhm.
then you take something for it, and ta-da, it's gone. But this thing, I mean, you had it in July, and this is already November, and it's still lingering. So basically, you haven't recovered. You're in the recovery stage, and you're still trying to recover. Am I?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm still trying to recover. Actually, today you caught me on a bad day. So in a week, I usually have one bad day, meaning, you know, I get shortness of breath. That's what you're probably hearing. I get chronic fatigue, which kind of mimics the flu. You get auto body aches, but it's not. Um, and it gets frustrating because you feel like you're beating the virus. I work with Parkinson's. The symptoms are pretty similar, so that's right in my ballpark. I can work on my own therapy, and I feel like I'm getting stronger, and I'm rounding the corner, like they say. But then the next day it kicks me on my butt, and I'm just laid flat. Like today would be a 70. But then tomorrow I can wake up in the morning and
Mhm.
feel 100%, and that's on my bad days. And I want all the survivors and long haulers to know that you're gonna have your bad days, but just work through it because tomorrow is going to be better. And that's what I got to hold on to. It can get very depressing that, especially when I was so active and fit and had full control of my body. But now this virus, it's kind of like a roller coaster. It comes anytime, and it attacks you in all different ways. And everyone's different with their symptoms. Yeah. So you're right. So it's good that you guys caught me on a bad day because I always try to put on a strong face. Like people see my posts and I'm happy, and I'm getting better. But that's only like 10% of my life or 10% of my happiness. Other 90, I'm still in recovery, and I'm just so there's some days where a day or two I'm just in bed, just trying to recover and working on my breathing, and hoping the next day's gonna be better.
So George, what, how did you find out you were, what was the symptoms that, obviously back then we didn't have all these testing, and so your symptoms obviously is what took you to the doctor, right?
So it started like I guess I went. So when I went to a gym to work out, so at that time the government get left. The mandate was you could take off your mask and work out. At that time it was so early in the stage that most of us are still washing our hands. Right, we're just washing our hands, social distancing. We did all that. So I went to a gym, did my own personal workout. You know, if anyone that knows me, that the way I do one thing is the way I do everything. So I was always masked up, and I was always I always was doing things safe. I went to the gym on a Tuesday to do my own personal workout, and then on Thursday, late night Thursday, I got a call from the gym owner and saying that someone contracted COVID there. I might want to get checked. How do you feel? I said, well, I started at 3 a.m. that morning, and I got home at 9:30. So I was I'm pretty tired. Could be, it felt like allergies, but I will cancel my day tomorrow, which is for Friday, and go get checked. Yeah, and then I got tested. That day I trained, because everything was open, you know, so the gyms are all open. That day was actually for gym owners and business owners. That was a celebration. It was supposed to be a celebration, you know, and then I ended up testing positive that Friday, and then on Saturday, at that time I had no idea what even a contact tracer was. You know, I was just, they said they were gonna have a contact tracer call me. You know, not knowing at that time what their job title, you know, what that really meant, what they did. You know, so I didn't. I luckily I did my own contact tracing, and that's that was key. You know, I contacted everyone. Thank God. You know, I did give it to several of my clients, and you know, right now I'm going to use this time because now that people know what they know now, sometimes people forget how early it was in the stage, and I want to give my apologies to people that I gave COVID to, you know, and I'm really sorry. A lot of them was my clients. They've all been with me for a decade, so I cannot really even say clients. They're like my family, so I would never want to give it to them, you know. But then because I did my contact tracing myself, no one in their families got it, and it stayed with them. And to kind of sum up everything, I think that's where it needs to start, and that's where it's going to end. You know.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, we again, we didn't rehearse, we didn't speak. So if any question we ask is off limits, just feel free, man. I mean, we just so
Oh
happy
yeah.
to have you here. We had Sarah on here a couple of times, and Sarah Bolis, and
Love her.
she had hers very early on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, in fact, masks it wasn't even an issue. I mean, it was just like you said, we had 30, 40,000 cases across the country. I myself, in the beginning of COVID, I just did not believe it was going to be anything bad.
Mm-hmm.
But that changed quickly for me, and I saw, especially with Charlie's story. But um, that so Tuesday you get exposed. Thursday you take a test. Friday you find out. You do your contact tracing. You inform everybody. When did the symptoms actually start for you?
So let me make a fast correction because you know a lot of people they try to fact check me, you know, and they try to, you know, they try to come at me, but I'm the wrong one to come at. I'm gonna clap back at them. You know what I mean? You know, so actually Friday I got tested. Saturday I got the results. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's in it. And with that said, you know, with Sarah and you know Kobe's and all these you know you guys in the beginning that were coming out, you know, I'm gonna give them a shout out because you know with all the love that I get, I still get a small percentage, like a 5% of hate. You know, I had people come at me asking me if if I was really, you know, at that time it was too early, right? They said fake news. My hair was too nice. I looked like I kind of just moved from, you know, from the office to the hospital bed and, you know, take my videos. I got mean stuff like, you know, you sure you're not dying of AIDS, you know, and I just had, you know, so you do get that hate. So it's tough to come out and tell people your story, which, you know, we need more people too. But at the same time, you know, you get so much love too, you know, and people, you know, you're helping so much people too. So it's a hard decision to make, but I just wanted people to know that, you know, it wasn't all rosy, you know, this journey, but I'm not the one to come back at. So actually, when someone therefore mentions like if I was dying from AIDS or whatever, then more so it kind of just adds fuel to my fire to spread more awareness because I will fight back, you know, and that was my way, of, you know, coming back and sharing. Yeah,
Well,
it was great.
I will say this much, to those people, that is no class. That is no class because I think what everyone needs to understand, and that's why I'm going to ask you this, is what regimen did you go through, to kind of get yourself back onto that recovery platform? Because you had the advantage that most people don't have, and that is being a personal trainer for all those years.
Right.
Yeah. So you know your body, you know what makes your body tick, you know how every muscle twitches, you know if something goes wrong, you're gonna feel it. When the average person doesn't have they're not in tune with it. And I can speak that firsthand. I mean, both Mel and I being former police officers, even when I was in recruit class going through the recruit training, I didn't know my body could do certain things. It was just amazing, like, wow, okay. But now you're battling COVID. What was your regimen? Did you have something that you considered a daily regimen, or you adapted it because of your training? That when certain things presented itself, you went heavy towards that to try to battle that. What did you do?
To answer that question, yeah, I actually, with my training, um, if I look back at it, I think the number one thing that actually helped me recover a lot quicker um, was breathing, learning how to breathe, my breathing techniques, because that's what it wants to rob you of, right, of your breath. So what I remember, I remember a nurse at Kaiser when she first contacted me when I was because I battled it at home for like 9 days. At that time, thinking it was the flu, right? And she said, you gotta work on your breathing. And she gave me like a technique to breathe. And then I remember I would always work on breathing because I think on the second or third day, they wanted, because I had such a hard time breathing, the doctors asked me if I can flip over in a prone position. And that sounds easy. And I thought, oh yeah, I got this. I can, what's wrong with flipping over? But when your oxygen levels are so low and you have no oxygen, that's like climbing Mount Everest, trying to flip over. Then I knew, okay, it's the breathing. I got to work on that first. So I started working on breathing, and it allowed me to get up and use a walker, you know, and I had to relearn everything. You know, my nurse, at that time, they had to bathe me. I'm in the business of giving. It's really hard for me to accept, and take and ask for help. And it was just like it was just too much. I remember always it's like they were bathing me. I'm super embarrassed, and I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know what I mean? And then it was learning the breath, stretching, um, God, family, my partner, that just finding strength in a dark place. And I had a lot of time, to think about it and reflect. And I could have chose to be negative and say, why me? Of course, I'm human. That crossed my mind. I was pissed, but that was just poison for me. And I knew that, I preach to my Parkinson's clients, to fight every day, be strong, I got to, and this is the moment where, I need to practice what I preach. And it was tough, you know, I wouldn't want this to happen to anybody, you know, and if you do, if it does happen, start working on that breath, working on the breathing, that's really key because it took a lot, it's mentally and to this day, it's just really straining.
Well,
Hopefully I answered that question.
yeah, I mean that's huge. I mean, because that's kind of the biggest problem with people with COVID is the breathing. This thing attacks your lungs. It basically destroys your lungs, and you got to be able to. How do you fight that? I mean, you have inspired so many people, George. I mean, I hear your story. I mean, I cannot imagine, any hate. But even when Sarah was on, you got clowns on here, and it takes a lot for me to block people, but they were basically insinuating that because she didn't wear a mask or she should have worn, all of that crap. And you know what, man, I don't know what's happened to our state. I don't know what's happened to our aloha. I love your shirt, by the way. I love your shirt.
Oh, thank you, Robert P.
I
And
I
Sarah's my good
noticed.
friend.
I
We got
saw when you first came on. I saw that shirt, and exactly. But it's your videos. I mean, I don't think anybody that saw that video will ever forget it or your videos. All of a sudden, you became in everybody's prayers that night. Everybody prayed for George Ma. Um, just because everybody was so concerned, you brought the reality of this virus home. You brought that because we were hearing so much from people about how minor this is. It's just like the flu, blah blah blah. But you brought that reality to a lot of us. So I got to thank you, and even Sarah and all. We had Lana from O Triple C. She's another one. Um, she got the virus at work, and she's struggling with other emotional issues that are and personal issues involving custody of her child. I mean, COVID impacts a lot of people. George, I want to ask you because a lot of people keep bragging about their recovery rate. So you're counted in the stats. You're one that they say has recovered. Sarah has recovered. Lana has recovered. All of these people, once you get released from the hospital, whatever, they count you as recovered. And that's an argument for these people to say that, it's not that bad because look at the recovery rate. But George, honestly, if you had to pick on a scale of 0 to 100%, uh, where would you be? Where would you be as far as this recovery phase?
As of today, 70% of where I used to be. I would be able to work all day, 8, 9 hours, and do my workouts in addition to that. Now I can barely do like 3 clients, which is probably 3 hours, half days, working every other day. Yeah. So I'm not fully recovered. I'm hopeful for the day that I'll be fully recovered because right now no one knows. For all of us survivors, we struggle in silence a lot of times. I know a lot of your followers are watching that survived it. Yeah, I'm sure some of them, they recovered well and they're back to normal life. But there's a percentage of us, there's thousands of us, in the world that we're not fully recovered. And I'm in a Facebook group with COVID survivors, and we always complain, and we always have the same symptoms, and it just the question is always, when is this going to end?
Hmm.
And real quick, George, I haven't spoken to that many, but I have definitely read enough stories from survivors. I honestly, and maybe Charlie's heard differently, but I have not heard from a COVID survivor. I call them survivors, survivor, not a recoverer, because to me recovery is 100%. I mean, you broke your bone, you broke your arm, they put the cast, they do the surgery, they put the plates, the pins, and then you take all of that stuff, you do therapy, then your arm, you can do everything that you could prior to the break. That's recovered. But the survivors, I don't know if I've ever heard a story or read a story from a survivor that is still not suffering some sort of impact from the virus. I just haven't, and I haven't been around that many, but from what I've seen, I think more COVID patients are still recovering, You think that's a true statement, or?
Oh yeah, that's a totally true statement. Especially if you was hospitalized. You know, if you ask anybody else hospitalized, if you ask them how they really feeling, it can get emotional. You can break a toughest man down, and they can cry. I cry because it gets frustrating. Um, it's like survivors know what they've been through, what each other have been through. It's like we went to war with this virus. So saying that you died and came back, you know what I mean? That's just making it's just sound a little better, making it easier. But every survivor knows that they've been in a hospital, that they had to. It was a crazy fight. It was a crazy war. It was a battle that's probably the hardest thing they ever did in their life. So I'm proud to call myself a survivor, and I'm proud that a lot of these survivors out there, are sharing their stories because we're only sharing a small part. You know what I mean? But if you went deep into what we all went through, it's a lot, and what we're still going through, it's crazy. It's
You know,
it's hard.
part of from what I found out from Lana and Sarah, that part of the recovery, and I want to call it a recovery promise, because you're thinking, and it's natural to think that, I'm going to work to get myself better. That's
Mhm.
that's the goal.
Right.
Then, like in Lana's case, you get hit with legal things because you're labeled as COVID. Therefore, even though you're no longer infectious, they think you are.
Right, right, right.
So she even had to go to the Department of Health to her doctor to get paperwork that says she is cleared to go back work, and yet the police still would not give her child back to her. It was those kind of things, and she talked about PTSD and the fear, and because she knows she's got it from where she worked at OCCC, the module,
Right. Right.
and she tries to avoid going there, and she told us straight on that this is probably one of the hardest battles because it's where I got it and I got to deal with it, but it's a reminder because they still have active cases.
Mhm.
And so she said that, man, I have never worn so many protective equipment because it'll sneak up on you. Do you ever feel at any time that because of what you went through, do you ever feel that this thing just might creep up on you again and catch you off guard? Or do you take extra precautionary measures now when you go out in the open?
I think when I was in the hospital, I remember that before I left, the crew, the doctors and the medical staff at Straub were saying, George, you can get it again. Yeah, I was talking about how about antibodies and all that stuff, and he said you don't want to even test it. And then I think remember the doctor said if you get it again, it's probably gonna be worse. And I'm like, what's worse than what I went through? Death. So yes, so now I take this extra precaution. Um, I feel like I'm under a microscope. You know, I I get that stigma. I was recognized and asked to wait outside of a restaurant, knowing because they knew who I was. You know, and so that's a that's why we need to share and put it out there and educate, because I think a lot of this you know craziness just comes from fear. I believe it just comes from fear. And that's the bottom line. It's just easier to push it aside, say I don't care. But yeah, it will creep up on you real quick.
So there's there's a lot of controversy about masks. There's a lot of controversy about flying in airplanes. There's a lot of controversy right now. There's a large percentage. I don't think it's the majority, but there's a percentage of our citizens around the country that believe that they don't have to wear a mask. That they're perfectly fine. They're not going to get the virus. And uh, I'm sure you're very educated about COVID now. You remind me of my son because that's just, perfectionist comes to mind. I think that's just that's what you guys are made of, personal trainers. That's why you do what you do, right? What would you say to people that question the social distancing, the mask wearing, the disinfecting of your hands, the not going to large gatherings? There any what do you make out of all of that?
For my personal experience, I think giving it, to my family or my friends or my clients, you know what I mean? You know, I sent two of them, they were on ventilators. And I rather die myself, and every day I was worried, I would look at statistics, match up ages, match up, gender. And then I would always try to, and then I was panicking. That's probably caused my anxiety now. I never used to have panic attacks. Just you know, be like you said, like my shirt says, aloha each other. But then at the same time, even if you're selfish, the consequences can lead to a lot. Look at me, just one day of not knowing 7 people, and in the beginning, like I said, 50,000 cases, now 9 million. So it's there, it's real. Um, you don't want to get it, and maybe like the doctor told me, you don't want to even take that chance because you can be me. You can be that one person, or you can be dead. You can pick one. You know, there's pretty much the only options you got. And I think a lot of times in the media now you see people saying, oh, because of politics or because of their religion, that not it's like too late. They found out. They wish they masked up earlier. Not now they got it, they're in the hospital bed, or they gave it to their family. Don't be that person. You know what I mean? You know, if I know with the virus now, and now we know that what we're fighting, and it was airborne. Back then we didn't know. We got to live with the virus until there's a vaccine. So I believe, my personal opinion is, I believe that we can live with it if we keep the social gather, keep the distance, stay away from the social gatherings. We wear a mask, right? We protect our eyes. That's key. Glove up. And we can all work with each other, and we can still open up. It's pretty simple in that state. You know what I mean? If everyone did the same thing, we could open up, and work. And like you said earlier, I wish the government, or just our politicians would ask survivors. We're going through it, or I think I went to my cardiologist and they said that he's still was. They said they get briefed on COVID daily, but they still don't get contacted, on on the cases, and on what they think, what or what they should advise them to do. So that's where it gets tough.
Well, I I'll share something with you because you said something about being a man and asking for help when you didn't have the strength. Um, when I had open heart surgery, it was I had probably one of the worst of the worst because they found all these blockages, and the break was so huge that um, I had to learn how to even get out of bed, and I felt that same as embarrassment. Just the thought about you know going to the bathroom, how to wipe yourself. It's
Yeah.
things like that, and it's like, oh no, but and it's because every time, no matter what twist and turn you take, and I'm pretty sure you felt it in your chest. I've got wires holding my chest together, and my chest kept
Yes.
doing one of these. It just wanted to stretch apart, and I got so bonehead because I refused to take any pain meds.
Mhm.
My wife would have to actually um, gain my attention. So the nurse would be on the other side and injecting it into my IV. That's the only way they could give it to me because I did not want to get hooked on pain meds. So I know that feeling. What I wanted to ask you is those, we talk about the spread, how it happened. It were you like in a period of time where you believe that you gave it to your clients or whatever the situation may be, that it was due to a heavy exposure, a heavy period of time of spending with them? Because a lot of people still get the idea that you just gonna pass the person. There's this question: if you're just passing somebody on the fly, would they get it? And yet, we know what CDC says about the exposure rate. 15 minutes or more cumulative time. In your case, do you believe that you were exposed for a great deal of time when you got it? When you got it?
Yeah, so I usually spend about an hour with each client, and as I teach group classes too, I knew exactly when I was in the hospital bed how I got it and how I passed it. And I knew it was through viral load at that time, and that's where I started. I wanted to share my story because I'm like, you guys got to mask up. I remember the doctors, two of them, they loved the gym. They wanted to do group classes, and they were asking me, why they're like trying to save me, you know, during those breaks, they were asking me like, one she loved yoga classes, one she loved, and she goes, "You sure, George? I love this." I said, I gotta go work out. I said, "No, not right now." I said, "I don't think it's safe at that time." That was early July, because I know that it's viral because that's the only thing I did wrong was take off that mask for 1 hour. Yeah. So, and everything else was done right. Um, yeah, you can ask all our guys. Everything was done right. Everything was prepped out. I even had locks on the doors, so we had extra time to clean up. But now we know, right? That was a hard lesson learned. But now we know, and that's I think where the sharing started was with the viral load and the time spent. And at the same time, not everyone got it. You know, I I trained 17 that day. 7 got it, right? So it's kind of the bad luck of the draw, I guess you can say. Yeah, if you're gonna get it or not. It depends, and everyone symptoms are different. And everyone's cases are different.
That's the scary thing about this virus is it's so new, it's so unknown. I mean, at some point, they'll be able to figure it out because they're going to have all the data from all of you that had contracted it. But even now, it's been 7 months, going on 8 months here in Hawaii, and we're still learning every single day. And but the bottom line is, I mean, you like you said best. I mean, when coming from you is a whole lot different than coming from Mel and Charlie. That's for damn sure. Don't take a chance. Why would you want to take a chance? And we beat this up every single night about you maybe you don't get sick, but you're still a carrier. You're still able to transmit this virus even if you're not sick. And unfortunately, I think we get there's many cases like that. And then the contact tracing is so important. I am so thankful that you did your own contact tracing. I'm not sure how it would have fared if you didn't. If you weren't able to, and if the state, I'm not sure how long it would have taken the state to reach out and find all of those people. So, I mean, gosh, that was awesome for you to do that. I'm hoping that now the contact tracing program is I'm sure it is now compared to back then.
So
But yeah, I know. I still hear, and I'm sure Charlie does too. I still hear from people, families of positive patients that were in contact with them, very close contact, that still had not been reached out to by the Department of Health. So it's not perfect, and that's why we've been saying for so long we got to take that individual responsibility to make sure we do what is right. We wear the mask, we wash our hands, and we do not go to these big gatherings. And that you're on Oahu, I'm sure you guys have a lot of problems with that going on right now,
You
all
and
know,
I,
over.
yeah, and I get it. Isolation. That's when people go to jail, right? That can crack the toughest guy. It is making a lot of us go crazy. That's why you probably see a lot of Karens and all that. And we're spending just so much time at home, not realizing that it's the isolation that's is just making us do things that we don't probably usually do. In our everyday life, if we we're able to work out or go to work regularly, see people. We're just kind of sometimes feel like you're just trapped in a cage or in prison.
how many how many
Psychologically, it messes you up.
how many people can say though, and this is what I'm amazed at just watching you, how you're conducting this interview with us. You've actually walked through your infection transmission all the way to the point where you became that contact tracer to go notify others to get that um I guess it's called a bloodline, right? You got one
Mhm.
bloodline, but it branches off. You try to
Yeah.
keep it, and you find out who's in that bloodline. You were actually able to trace all the way to the ones you got infected. Now, how many people right now can say they would have had the presence of mind to do that on their own? See, that's the thing about when we come on the show and we talk to a lot of people, we get the naysayers because all they're saying, this is that. And I keep on telling them, okay, with the flu, if you got the flu, do you go and tell somebody else that you gave them the flu? You don't. What we're telling you is this thing is serious enough that you gotta sound the alarm, you know? And so that's why I'm amazed right now at you're giving us this really a play by play, a blow by blow of how this thing evolved from its infancy stage all the way to where you are now. And I just want to give you all that credit because I hope there are those out there that can maybe share with others who they know who may have been infected that hey, you got to do your homework and you got to do your part. So the question I wanted to ask in relation to that, given how we opened up our state, okay, do you think with everything with this one pretest and there's this debate about the post-testing after arrival. Do you think the state is doing enough, or is it just it's just the luck of the draw, like you said? What's your thoughts?
My thoughts actually, I can say they're catching up. My honest truth, they're slowly catching up. Um, People like like the two of you on social media, educating people, spreading awareness, you know, and even in the beginning, when I was sharing, it was because I could see the pukas with the contact tracing. I could see the pukas with the government not having all the information, like you said, because I was walking those steps and I was sharing those each step, that I was going through. Yeah, and yeah, I guess I, I, yeah, I always try to be positive, but it's kind of like every man for themselves. Take care of your family and friends. Make sure they're masking up for now until there is vaccine, because that's just kind of where it is. So to answer that question, there should be a lot more done. I believe it's already been done. Like if you go to check out Asian countries like Taiwan and Hong Kong, the fines are high. They use technology. You can track what area had COVID, who has COVID. Shout out to the Kapu breakers. But then you go to, for instance, Hong Kong. You got to wear like a band. I know maybe it's a communist country, but then it's already so bad. If you leave, the hotel wherever you're confined to, there's like I think a $700 or $800 US fine. So that's stuff like that. We're in desperate times, so we might have to do things like this to control the virus. But because it's the US, it's tough, right? So
Yeah, but like you said, inevitably, right? Inevitably, it's going to have to be done,
right.
right? It's gonna, because COVID is. I mean, being nice to visitors or being nice to travelers. I gotta say travelers, not visitors, because it includes returning residents. But being nice to them is not gonna make COVID any safer. It is what it is, and it's inevitable that the numbers will rise. It's happening everywhere else in the country right now. You may as well take the strong action up front, yeah. Because if we wait until the aftermath, and then a lot of people end up like you or worse, dead, yeah. I kind of wanted to go back just because we started to talking about the testing and so forth. From the day you got that call that you may have been exposed, from the date of exposure to the date that you had uh, got your first symptom, how many days was that? Do you
So
remember?
yeah, I remember. So Thursday was my first symptoms, and it was just I get allergies a lot, so and I usually can work through that. And it was late at night, and I got home, so I thought that's what it was at first. Um, and every day I got sicker to the point where even when I did my own contact tracing on day 3, I was struggling. You know what I mean? Because you're taking cough medicines, you're basically drugged up in cough medicine. Your fever was like 114, and you couldn't break a fever. It took like everything like out of me.
114, 114.
Yeah, think of it as high as it took everything out of me. Even my oxygen levels when I went to the hospital. At that time, I didn't even know where my oxygen levels should be. It should be about 95 to 100. I walked in there at low 80s, almost like 70 something.
Oh, that's low.
So that's where the pukas was, where I needed to share. And I'm like, you guys get that oxygen meter. That's the number one thing to battle COVID. And to this day, even in my recovery, I'm still using that. So today, I checked because my chronic fatigue was kicking in. I'm about 96 to 95, and I can't break that today. So it is kind of like a double-edged sword, what Mel said, because I am a business owner first, and I felt the same way. Like everything needed to be open. Then when I contracted COVID and almost died, I'm like now kind of backpedal. You're like, oh, okay, it's probably more important for me to stay safe and not open up. But at the same time, like I said, being a business owner, life has to go on too, and we can live with it if we just all do the right things and learn how to live with it.
Well, I mean, George, wouldn't it make sense to have you on a advisory committee or advisory council, have survivors on there that would share your experience. I mean, I don't think I cannot think of a better sort resource than someone that has lived it and almost died from it, and is a business owner that is equally concerned, for your business and for your health. I mean, there are ways, and we've talked about this time and time again. There are ways that we can open up and take care of our local businesses right now and be safe. That's the question. I mean, why don't we just focus on being extra safe and allowing business to open up? I think it can be done.
I believe, yeah, I believe, done right, it can be done. And that's where the government and the survivors, yeah, you're right. That's that bridge, that we can talk about. Because I hear a lot of businesses, I do jujitsu. I know jujitsu schools are closing down, but there's ways to do it. I'm I work with Parkinson's clients. I got to be extra careful and extra safe. Um, just adjusting to the new normal, like the times, the distance, the mask, changing. The guidelines by now should be a little different than just wearing a mask. We can be, because we know what we're fighting, so it can be really specific for businesses, and not every business is the same. So you know, every business might have different rules. And I think as survivors we can help, with that than just shutting everybody down at one time, and just opening just for essentials. Um, yeah, so I believe there it will instructions and learning a little bit more from what survivors are going through. Yeah, you can open up in a safe manner.
Well,
Totally.
I've always made this mention that if you have a big outbreak in Waianae, why close down Hawaii Kai? It doesn't make sense. And so that's why we've always said that when you've got when you've got a mega case breaking out, you should flood that area as quickly as possible and try to find where it's at and try to send up that dragnet so it doesn't get out beyond the perimeter. Because, like you said, we can't let businesses stay open and it's done in a safe way. But just because, and I said this before, if a business is successful, right, a business will draw a crowd.
Right.
That would be to the business's fault because that's the business is going to get closed down because too much of a crowd. So it doesn't make sense. But the thing is, if we know that the business, if the virus is in Kailua, and that's the whole point about the contact tracing was to get in there as soon as possible, and they can actually trace where the thing is marching. And to me, I think in the early stages when it was under Dr. Anderson and Dr. Park, I think they missed the ball back then because proof is in the pudding. Months later, you have all these high numbers. You get a new contact tracer come in. All of a sudden, in one day, they erase several thousand cases and say, okay, we caught up. And,
Right.
and so we're asking ourselves, gee, what was the magic that you did that they couldn't do before? That many cases in one day to clear the records, you
Right.
know.
Right. Right.
And another thing too, George, and I again I can't help this, but I had double pneumonia, so I know that feeling, but I've never had COVID. And my respiratory therapist told me the same exact thing because my son is a chronic asthmatic. That when he starts to start tightening up, you gotta start nailing the back, right? And
Right.
so respiratory therapist, and I don't know if you do it, but one of those thumpers, the newer ones they have now, it's like a massager that does the rapid thumping.
The shake
Well,
weight.
yeah, like it's called either impact or
Or some
no,
vibration therapy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to work for me because when I feel my chest getting clogged up, she'll put it right in a small on my back and go for like a 15-minute therapy, and it actually loosens up the mucus, allows me to bring it out, you know. So I don't know if you use that or if it's even recommended in your.
I never heard of anyone using it, but that's a great tip, and I'm gonna try it. I'm always learning something new. But then I know most of your lungs are, I call it, your backpack is located in your back. So that's why if you do have COVID, and if you get it, try, especially if you're battling at home or in a hospital, That's one of my tips I want to give is try to get at least on your side and relieve so you can get more oxygen. You will get more oxygen. Just move. So when I was battling it for 2 days, I would be grabbing the side of the rail, and I would at least get at least half of my body, off,
Mm.
the bed, so I would be able to breathe. And I would try to switch sides, and that was one of my fights, with COVID, and that really helped. And I'm not a medical doctor, but I think there are a lot of lives could be saved if there was some kind of contractor where we could flip them over. 'Cause right now we don't. No one has the manpower. If let's say my loved one had it and I got to battle it with them at home, that's the first thing I would do is try to get them at least on their side or at least in a prone position. And I believe it could help.
Okay.
I know that time is flying. We only got about 10 minutes or so left. But George, back when you were in the hospital and the struggling to breathe, all the symptoms of COVID that you had to experience. And then the other side of COVID, and you mentioned it earlier about the loneliness, being alone, the fact that you cannot see your loved ones, you cannot see your family, you're alone. I mean, basically, you're in isolation, and I'm hearing from a lot of people that that's bad. When Sarah told us her story about having to call her family before they were going to induce her into a coma, basically to say goodbye, because at that point you just don't know. I don't know if there was ever a time, George. I believe I'm sure there were times where you didn't know if you were going to live or die, and there was no one to console you other than your doctor and your nurses and your therapist, but your respiratory people. What's the worst part of it? I mean, struggling to breathe. I know that's rough, but I mean, the fact that you cannot, there's no one to hug, no one to hold, there's no one to cry on your shoulder. There's just what's the impact there? How tough is it? And I don't know if you really want to go in that deep, but
No, no, no,
you
no,
know,
no, no.
we're going to take advantage of
Let's get
you
real. Let's get real.
because you
Yeah,
said this might be your
yeah.
last
Let's do it.
interview.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
trust me, we are so honored and blessed to have you. But I know I want, and people are going to watch this for a long time. And what was that like? What was the worst part? The loneliness, the fact that you might not be able to see your loved ones again, and you're not going to be able to hold them. How rough does that? How much does that play on your head?
I still struggle with it today. I have moments where, you know, I have survivor's guilt, meaning like, how come I made it through? I'm, I'm, I've recovered faster than most. You know what I mean? That goes through my head. At that time, I guess the most difficult part was I used to always tell my friends like, I have a good life. If I die tomorrow doing what I love to do, I'll be okay with it. Well, my dad had Parkinson's and he died from Parkinson's, and he said the same thing too. But when you're at that point, yeah, and God's like, what, I'm gonna take you. You're gonna fight like hell. No, I'll tell you that that's bullshit. You can say I'm ready to die. I had the best life. I got my kids and all that. I bet you any much since I've been there, you're gonna fight. You don't want to die. So with COVID, a lot of times they say that you died from underlying problems. Yes, I know that didn't help, but one, basically you just drowned. You couldn't breathe, and then two, you gave up. That's the only thing that made us survivors. That's the difference between survivors, and we had the extra care. And that's everything. Having those nurses watching over me. It was still early. Having that extra care, that that meant that's everything. And so like especially now, so if you end up getting COVID and the beds are all full and like that, and nurses can't tend to you. When I was there, it was like maybe 30% full. I don't know how much it is now, probably a lot more. If they kind of check in on you, and the quality of care, if you don't get that quality of care, then probably goodbye. And to be honest, yeah, that's where it ends. Then you're gonna be fighting alone. You can decide, if you want to survive or not. Or in with COVID, it comes at you so hard. It's easier to give up. To be honest, it's just easier to give up, you know. So that's maybe where my guilt comes from too, because I batted it for 2 days. On the second day, I wanted to give up because I didn't think it was coming again, and it came at me again, and I, I called, prayed to my mom, my dad, everyone. I get like, don't let me go. I have a purpose in life. I'm working with Parkinson's. I got my clients. I love doing that. I have my partner and my family, and that's what gave me the fight. So yeah, so the other people that said, no biggie, I'll fight it. I lived a good life. I still have friends that say that. So you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about you. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're on that doorstep, yeah, I guarantee you're not gonna feel the same way because life is too precious.
Yeah, we had Russell Izumo. He was from Kauai. He was, I think he was our first. I believe I think he was the first one from Kauai to get medevac to Oahu, and he shares his story. He's still struggling too with his breathing, and um, but he talked about the hallway. Man, he came close. The light. He came really close, and but yeah, I think you're right. I think I say that all the time. Yeah, I lived a wonderful life.
Yeah.
If God took me tomorrow, I'm sad. Yeah, but now listening to you, you're right. Bullshit. No, I don't let go yet.
Yeah.
I don't let go yet.
I actually learned that from my dad because when my mom passed away from cancer first, and he always said, I want to be with mom, and then when he went in for Parkinson's and towards his last, he was like, there's 5 stages of Parkinson's. At stage 5, late stage 5, they found he had cancer too, so they had to go in and do some procedures. And the doctor and the nurses was saying that he was saying, "I'm gonna kill you" in Chinese, like broken Chinese, right? And I said, "What? He was saying that to you guys?" He goes, "Yeah, you better not open me up. I'm gonna kill you." And I said, "Dad, I thought you said you wanted to die. You was good. You wanted to be with mom." That's what I learned. And then with my experience, says no. When you get there, you don't want. No one wants to. You know,
Yeah.
there might be
Well,
a small percentage.
powerful, man.
You know,
Powerful.
I tell you, I'll share real quickly. I know that feeling because when that morning when I got medevac to Oahu, and when I went, I looked at my wife and what can you say? And all I thought was, I mean, I saw the operating room, I saw the robot,
Mm-hmm.
but I said I'm gonna be out, so I want to know if I'm gonna come out or not. You start asking yourself that, right?
Right.
And
Right.
then you start asking yourself things like, but what if you go to heaven? How can you communicate with her one last time? And it's just like, I wanted to get off that gurney and said, let's postpone this. I want to be
Yeah, I
right
know
now.
exactly. Yeah.
And then when I woke up, there was this terrible accident, and they had people lined up in the ICU. And I was fortunate, like you said, I had a nurse with me 20 because I was so bad. I had a nurse with me 24/7 around me because just the simplest things like when they pulled they said, Mr. Yona, you gotta breathe. You gotta breathe. We're gonna pull the tube out. And I remember when they yanked that tube out, I wanted to punch people because it was so painful because your chest is,
Right.
and then all the wires were, and next thing you know, you said, man, you feel like you're living and dying at the same time. So I can just imagine, with the COVID,
Mm.
my brother talked on a Sunday and I never heard from him on Monday. And the reason why he was admitted to hospital, because they said that if you can go for 3 days without I bet they told you the same thing. If you can go for 3 days without the fever, that, then you're kind of turning the corner. And
Right.
so on Monday, I didn't hear from him. Tuesday, I found out, and his girlfriend had COVID, but she had different symptoms, very mild fever, but wasn't bad. Then they tried to dialyze him, but his blood was just too thick already. It was gunking up the machine. And then going into that week, early Saturday morning came, and he passed away. It was that fast. So I know the feeling what you're saying about telling all of your clients, you gotta do the right thing because if it comes, it's gonna come so hard. I don't think anybody has time to prepare. I mean, it comes really hard, right?
Yeah, so every day it changes, and it comes harder and harder
Yeah.
at you, and that's the thing. And so you gotta fight harder, and you barely have any strength, to do anything. You know, you gotta dig from within, and find all your strengths. You know,
Mhm.
and I was banking on my exercise, my cardio. So I had something to hold on to and say, I know my heart's good, so it gave me that extra fight, to fight. I know I'm healthy. I'm young enough to get past this, and I held on to that. Thinking back now, if I didn't have that, those vices, I probably would be gone today because I would just say, I just give up. It's just easier, you know. And sometimes, at that time, you doubt yourself too, right? You go through it. And to be honest, on the second night, I should have died at 3 a.m., to be honest, because I remember fading in and out. I could see it would, it came like around 12, 1 o'clock, and then I could see like the time. I could see like a nurse, and I would fight to breathe, and I look at the time again. And then at one point, I remember I looked at it 3 o'clock, around 3 o'clock. I was just fading out, and that's when I was like, I can't do this. It's just let me go. And it's just something, maybe my parents, maybe God just you're not ready yet. You um, so me sharing this to, I believe everything was meant to be, and everything happens for a reason. So that's one of the main reasons why I put myself out there. And if you like it, it's some of it, of me putting myself out there and spreading awareness comes from a little bit comes from the guilt that I gave it to my clients. A lot of them, they might not see me and we might not talk, but some of them, they follow me on social media and they can see what I'm going through. And that's why today I wanted to be really real with you guys. Like, yeah, today I feel shitty. You know what I mean? I'm struggling just to talk to you, but it's just something that I need to do. And that's how I want to find my peace, through this. Yeah, we go.
Well, I believe in God. I recommend to people every night to pray
Mhm.
uh, for all our COVID people and and the families. And God would not have let you live if you were not the giving person that He knew that you would share your story and help people. I believe that with all my heart. He now He's going to use you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
and you owe him because he spared you, and you are in a position now, and you already have. You've helped, I would say thousands of people, just uh, whether they've had COVID or not. Just the inspirational, just your inspiration and motivation, I think, is amazing. And tens of thousands of people. And after tonight, probably a million people, because that's how much people watch this show.
Nice. Yeah,
But
I'll be a movie
so
star.
this kind of leads me into kind of how we end this thing
Yeah.
is you have an opportunity now to talk to a lot of people, to share your message with our viewers and the people that will watch this in the next coming week, because that's typically what happens. Governor Ige, all of these people watch this after we go off the air.
Mhm.
But I'm not really care about our decision makers. I'm more interested in sharing your thoughts with people that are watching that maybe still believe this isn't as serious as it is. If they haven't figured it out in this interview yet, then they need to go get help. But just what would you tell anyone as far as COVID and how serious it is? And I mean, if you had to wrap it up, and the time is yours, man. Say whatever you want. It's uncensored, unedited. Obviously, you can say whatever you want.
It's talking like about God and stuff like helping thy neighbor. That's, what I mean, caring for someone else. Put put someone else first. And if we all just kind of put someone else first, right? So we're gonna wear a mask, even though we don't believe in it. That's how we can stop the spread. Yeah. So yeah, social distancing. I'm gonna keep repeating it, and I feel like I'm I'm going crazy repeating the same thing. I'm sure you guys are too, but it's a must, right? Wearing your mask, wearing your gloves, stay, cover up your eyes, because and just be good to each other and just try to protect each other. And because once you kind of think like, I'm not gonna wear a mask, or uh, that's just being selfish. It's the bottom line. And, there's enough of us sharing our stories and we're putting ourselves out there. And to be honest, we don't need to. We don't need to put our stories because we get attacked too, right? Like I said, But the thing is, we care and we're watching out for our neighbors. We're watching out for our community, and our friends. If we could just, like you said, just we are the aloha state, but we're getting divided now with COVID. Even if it wasn't COVID, I'm sure we would help the neighbor. If they needed something. Same thing like this virus. We just you know take care of each other, mask up, or even if you have friends like me, I was shouting out to my friends that still kind of questionable, like hey, keep reaffirming that it is out there and what can happen, and even though it sounds like a broken record, and I know some of my friends they're like, George, enough about COVID. Hey, but it's our new reality. It's just fact. It's there. People are dying. Just look at the numbers. Aloha each other.
Oh, I love that, man. I love that. Charlie?
Well, as always, I'm going to first take this opportunity to thank our guest tonight. Thank you so much, George, for joining us. Thank you for your words, really words of wisdom, and a true warrior, especially how you gave of yourself to describe the nuts and bolts from the start to the finish, and how you were able to contact trace yourself. I mean, that says a lot. The average person will not do that, but you did it. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. To our viewers out there, I think it's noteworthy to take heed to one thing that our guest said tonight, and that is, with all the craziness that goes on in our society today, having COVID is just one more aspect that you can do without. Okay, so if you're a juggler and you want to multitask and juggle 10 balls instead of 8, and you want to do it poorly, that's up to you. But what's happening now is there's so much craziness going on. Let's take care of one thing at a time. You don't need COVID in your household. You don't need COVID with your family, your friends, and even people that you don't know. I don't wish COVID on my worst enemy, because the bottom line is, if my worst enemy cannot control COVID, he will spread COVID to one of my friends, and the vicious circle will start all over again. So all I'm saying is, please, let's stop that cycle from happening again, and let's put a stop. And let's it's like a fire, we can just keep on adding water until we peel it out, and we have to do it that way. Okay, Mel.
George, oh gosh, man, what an amazing show! Probably one of our best ones we've had. I think I'm not sure if you have Facebook running at the same time so you can watch, but if you don't, just go hit the comments afterwards. A lot of well wishes, a lot of people. You're a hero, man. That's just the bottom line. You're a hero. You went through a very shitty experience, but a lot of good came out of it. A lot of good. You just helping so many people, along with all the survivors out there that come forward and speak, and we appreciate that. Knowing how tough that could be, knowing how tough that these idiot haters would come out and even talk nonsense. We see it. We see it on comments all the time, as it relates to COVID. But man, we mahalo you so much, and we ask God and all of our viewers to please tonight, before you put your head down, pray for George and his family and everybody with COVID out there that's really struggling to recover from this damn thing. You heard George, good days, bad days, and oh, real quick too, before I go on, we did a Halloween trick or treat Halloween contest the other night, and I told everybody we was going to randomize the grand prize winner tonight. So George, right after we're done, you feel free to go, but we're gonna randomize them right here live on this show, so we can
Awesome.
pick our winner who's gonna get 2 nights at an authentic log cabin up on Volcano. So I forgot.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. So so if you're hanging on and hang on a little bit more, and then we'll do that before we shut down tonight. But yeah, man, we only wish you the best. We wish you the best. And I know you said that this is your might be your last interview, but my God, man, we're open invitation for you whenever you want to come up and share, whatever. It doesn't matter. We'd love to have you back on. You woke up some people tonight. You encouraged a lot of people tonight. People just got to see a different side of COVID, because again, it's like coming from you versus coming from Mel and Charlie, a little different impact. So we appreciate you so much, man. We wish you only the best, and we pray for a full recovery um, very, very soon. And we love you,
Thanks
my
again.
brother. We love you. I
Love you
love
too.
that. Yeah.
Thanks,
All
thanks
right.
again for having me on your guys' show. Yeah, thanks again. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Awesome
Well,
job.
we get the
You guys
easy job. We get the easy
and,
job.
and for all the people that from the beginning to now that supported me, sending you all my love. And I always put I care, I love when I click it. When I click my likes, that just means me saying hello, hi, take care. Until we're all able to gather again and enjoy.
Wow.
So
You guys
have
are
a good night to
angels.
all your
Man.
viewers.
You guys are angels. Right on, George.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. You can hang on and watch this if you want, but if not, feel free to leave. It's cool. We'll
Oh,
just do this real quick. This is gonna be very
that's
quick.
it. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I'll keep watching. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun,
Let's go.
man. I think. I hope if I can make this thing work. All right. Here we go, guys. All of you that we entered everybody in for the 2 nights at the log cabin up in Volcano, thanks to Cynthia Rubenstein. I hope I got that right. So it all starts with a dice roll. We're gonna roll the dice right here to see how many times we're gonna randomize, and it's 8. You guys see the number 8? So then we're gonna come here to this list here, and it's all of your names are in this block right here. And we're gonna we're gonna split them up, mess them up 8 times. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is pretty cool, man. 6, 7. Okay, right here. This is 7 times. The dice roll was 8. And here we go. Kiapuni Apilado. Number 1. That's the winner. Kiapuni Apilado. You just won 2 nights at a early 1900s log cabin. It is amazing. It's up at the volcano on the Big Island. So whenever it's safe to travel, it's probably safe to get over there. You quarantine in the cabin. That's cool. You don't get nothing to do anyway up there. But congratulations, man. That was awesome. We did a Halloween contest, passed out all the prizes. It was awesome, man. So
He was
with
the
that
little,
again.
the little one. The mommy was carrying her.
Yes. Yeah. Did mommy, I'm sure mommy gonna take advantage of that log cabin. But again, thanks to Cynthia Rubenstein for donating that for the cause. We appreciate all of you guys. Yeah. So tomorrow night election, guys. Charlie and I not coming on at 7. We'll pop up. We'll surprise everybody when the election results come in. We'll have a little bit of fun with the election results when it's kind of final. So other than
Vote for
that,
staying healthy. Vote
Yeah.
for staying healthy. That's
that's it. We always say, I don't give a damn who is there.
Yeah,
We
me too.
control what we do. It doesn't matter what Washington, D.C. does. We control what we do. I don't care who the president. I don't care who's Congress. I don't care who the
Right.
governor. Everybody mask up.
Let's go.
Thank you, man. Love you, brother. We'll see you
You
guys.
guys.
Remember, Charlie, anytime. Anytime, George. Anytime you
Yeah.
like, come on, brother. You got my email now. Take care.
Okay, friends. We
Aloha.
friends. Okay, bye.
Friends,
Aloha.
buddy. For life. For life.